Hi, everyone, and thank you for hanging out with me tonight. I'm going to give you a remote view. I have, along with the rest of you, been watching the news and tracking Ian, which seems to be a slow-moving hurricane. When you take a look at the situation with Ian and you step back, I've also looked at the cards. I've done some quick technique and I've looked at the cards. And I've done some CRV, classic, and just scanned it. So I have a couple things to say. First off, the first thing I see is that the number of deaths is going to be minimal. This is the most important thing that we have to take away from the Ian experience. We really have to hear that, nothing is more important than human life. And we can always rebuild if we come together and we choose to do so. So in the immediate emergency, I'm seeing very few deaths. However, excuse me, the card that comes up, the card of poverty, Five of Pentacles. So Five of Pentacles is a card that denotes homelessness, loss of home, poverty, etc. So we had talked about the fact that we pushed ourselves forward into fall of 2022 and Biden was crying, the nation was crying. So we have to prepare for the storm season. And with the storm season, the water's coming. And with that, we are great at emergencies, getting people out of the emergency, but we are not so good about is making sure that they have shelter. And we have a crisis of shelter for people in emergency situations. Either they lose their homes because somebody got sick and lost their job, or because they couldn't make the mortgage and pay the bills with the everything going up, etc. So there are so many reasons why homelessness has become a real crisis in the United States, but this is an energy that says we can save lives in the immediate situation, but we really are going to see this as something compounding the crisis of homelessness in the United States. The other thing that's going to happen as a result of Ian is that there is some serious infrastructure problems going on, as we are aware, in places like Mississippi, parts of the eastern seaboard, etc., parts of the southern United States, because for years the politicians have been stealing our taxes and giving the money away to their friends in the form of contracts that do very little to actually support the infrastructure of the United States. And so consequently, since the time of Reagan, we have had very little infrastructure work done. Our schools don't look like they've changed much. They look kind of like dilapidated prisons. Our water systems have completely eroded in many cities. Bridges are collapsing, etc. And so unfortunately, as a result of Ian, all those vulnerable infrastructures are now going to be glaringly apparent because unfortunately they were weak before, but they certainly cannot afford the changes that come with global warming. Areas that are vulnerable are right now at this time, because of this energy, I'm concerned about Alabama. I'm concerned about Mississippi, Florida, parts of Georgia. Areas that theoretically are already at a low sea level. So that's the good and the bad. The good, not necessarily a lot of life lost in the immediate emergency, but we could be seeing loss of life because of poverty, homelessness, disease, etc., which is not addressed because the overall problem of homelessness has not been addressed. Now, this message goes out to people who are political, that are working, the chair of the Democratic National Committee, theoretically, if they're watching. The other thing I see in this energy is that this is another opportunity for the Democrats to do politics. And that is that we have to start telling the American people the truth, that the failed policies since Reagan have put us in this situation. And this is precisely why Democrats have tried to fight for infrastructure and why Democrats have been fighting to address global warming for the last 30 years and really point the finger at the oil industry and the people that put us in this situation. But also it's a great opportunity to push for green jobs, green infrastructure, and also for those people that are trying to get elected, Democrats, the failed policies in Florida that have led to the fact that, number one, why didn't they have an adequate levee system? Why wasn't money put in for the levee? And why have Republicans continually shot down the environmental policies that could have protected Florida citizens? And I think that if the Democrats are able to show in black and white, this happened because we did not have the infrastructure. This happened because global warming is an existential crisis, then it will go a long way to help push the South blue. The other thing I really feel strongly is we have to go 50-state strategy into the poorest neighborhoods and not just on college campuses. Don't assume that the Democrats of tomorrow are going to be people that can afford to go to college or are in cities where they can go to colleges. This is looking like kind of like the rebirth of the unions, which took place in remote areas of the Appalachians and Kansas. And that's precisely why those areas, there was so much money and energy put to clamp down the unions in those areas. And so, but now we're seeing this as a great opportunity of the DNC to go back into those areas and reclaim those areas with the new green revolution. All right. Be well, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to tonight's remote. People have asked me in the past what area is the wealthiest in the next 30 to 40 years. I was very specific. I said that the new Napa Valley of organic winery will be in the Appalachians in the Northwest Territory of North Carolina. And so if you invest in that area in the next 30 years and you're very strict about no spraying, it's going to be a pretty remarkable place in the not so distant future. All right, be well, everyone, and thank you for watching. Be well.